Politics always play a large part in what happens here on Mackinac Island for the policy conference, and this year is no different. Everyone is watching the Detroit mayoral race, and joining me now is Mike Duggan, one of the candidates for mayor of the city of Detroit. Mike, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Christy.
No problem. Why don't you go ahead and tell me why are you running?
I left my job at DMC on December 31st, and it was a job I love very much. And I've been campaigning first thing in the morning till last thing at night.
What are people telling you?
People in the city want change. They're tired of the police not showing up, the street lights not being on, the abandoned houses not being dealt with, and they're tired of the national embarrassment of, emergency managers and bankruptcy and all this other conversation. And they want to go a different direction.
Well, that conversation is reality right now. Do people understand why that there is an emergency, a financial emergency in the city of Detroit?
Oh yeah, the vast majority of people don't doubt there's a financial emergency. But when I came into DMC in 2004, the emergency was every bit as severe. DMC had lost $500 million in 5 years, and the board had just voted to close Receiving Hospital, Hutzel Hospital, and everybody thought hospitals in Detroit were dead. We proved by changing the way we delivered service, providing better care and cutting costs, we not only stayed alive, but we grew tremendously in 9 years in a row. So I think we feel like we can do it again.
So you feel you're equipped to handle any kind of financial emergency that's there. Kevin Orr is going to be in position for at least 18 months, and it would be if you became mayor for at least the first year that you're in office. What kind of role would you anticipate that you would have at that point?
I don't accept that. The 18-month thing is a fiction.
So you think he would be gone before that?
I say he's going to be there as long as the governor wants him. His contract does not say 18 months. It says for an indeterminate period of time. And I think, given my track record, I believe if I get elected in November, I've got a basis to go to the governor, hopefully with the business and community leadership, and say, we've elected a mayor with a strong turnaround history. He's got a turnaround team, and he's got a turnaround plan. Let's thank Mr. Orr for his service and send him back to Washington, D.C.
Are you concerned if that language says indeterminate amount of time, that it could be longer than 18 months if you don't convince the governor, should you win, that you're the guy?
I think if you look at what's happened in Pontiac and Benton Harbor and Ecorse, it's typically 4 to 5 years.
Right.
And I think that's a big risk to this city, is that we could have an emergency manager for 4 or 5 years. And I think the strongest chance of shortening that is to elect a mayor with real financial turnaround experience. So I'm looking at just the opposite. I believe I can make the case to move him out. You're always better off with an elected mayor who can bring in the long-term cabinet than an emergency manager for an indeterminate period of time who's relying on short-term consultants.
Finance is obviously a problem. We've covered that. Let's put that on one side. What do you see, besides the finances and the financial structure of the city, is the number one problem that you would address should you become mayor?
Well, there's no question the violence in the city is out of control. And we need to get back to what the city was doing when I was a prosecutor, when we had a team of the U.S. Attorney, the ATF, the DEA, the Detroit Police, and the prosecutor aggressively going after every gun crime in this town. The criminals were not in charge. We know what it takes to bring the violence down. In my last year as prosecutor in 2003, we had the fewest murders in 30 years. But when you've had 5 police chiefs now in the last 4 years, you've got no strategy, you've got no coherent plan. And we're going to get back to a real strategy to bring the violence down.
Do you like the new police chief that's been chosen?
I think he has to be given a fair chance to succeed. So I would have preferred the next mayor pick the police chief, but I'm going to deal with Chief Craig the same way I dealt with the hospital presidents when I came into DMC. We're going to have criteria for reducing police response time, getting down violence, and dealing with minor crimes like graffiti and stripping houses. And if he succeeds, he's going to have my full support, and I'm going to give him every opportunity to succeed.
So you're operating like you are going to win in November. Talk to me about your opponent right now. A new poll that came out today says that you're about 26% of the vote, and Betty Napoleon has about 30% of the vote right now.
Yeah, and the polling shows in the general election it's 40-40 with 20% undecided, and that's what our internal polling shows. This race is a dead heat. Sheriff Napoleon is a strong candidate. We worked together well when he was the police chief and I was the prosecutor. My guess this is going to be a close race right down to the end of November.
People say close race. People are also saying this could be an ugly race. What do you think they're talking about?
I don't know, because if you've seen the debates between Sheriff Napoleon and I, it's been very positive. He and I are friends. We get along well. There's been no nastiness between the two of us. So if it's ugly, it'll come from other people, I suspect.
And then you're going to have a debate this evening here on Mackinac Island. You're looking forward to that?
I do. We've, of course, debated so many times already, we know each other's lines, but hopefully we'll all do well.
But do you think that most of your campaigning is going to be door-to-door?
I've already done 150 house parties in living rooms and basements and beauty salons and church halls all across the city. That's how I've gone from well behind in the polls to dead even now, and I'm going to just keep right on doing it right through November. The way to win this campaign is sit down with people face to face, and it's working.
All right, Mike Duggan, mayoral candidate for the city of Detroit. Good luck to you, and thanks for joining us. You're watching our coverage of the Mackinac Policy Conference. Stay with us. We'll be right back.